is, you know what we're here to do. Back on screen today, beautiful Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Hernan. You can call me H. Here, ready to talk about everything that's going on with Austin FC, all the news surrounding this club, and some other interesting topics that we're going to get into here tonight. Now, very important that you stick around to the very end, the second part of the episode. We are going to have a very special guest all the way from Seattle. We're going to be talking to Shauyan from RaveGreenTV. Shout out my G. We're going to talk about Stefan Cleveland, the new signing, the new goalkeeper addition that we made to this team. Free agent, but his last team was Seattle. So we're going to have an expert tell us everything that they know on Stephen Cleveland, sorry, and what you need to know on Mr. Cleveland moving forward as he wears the verde and black. Also going to talk about an update for Dani Pereira, some interesting stuff there that's going on with him, and some of the rumors that are surrounding Austin FC, including, I don't know if this can be a rumor anymore, but the bombshell that has been developing in the last couple of hours today that Johan Romaña is on the move, on loan again, and we're going to tell you to what team here on tonight's episode of the Top Flight Pod. Now, before we get into the episode here tonight, I do want to send a shout out to the Patreon members. We're almost to close to 100 members, if I'm not mistaken. Shout out to everybody. Y'all support is absolutely incredible. And as 2024 creeps around the corner, the new season comes around, we're already making plans to see what road trips we're going to make to bring you some vlogs, get you some awesome content out there because you guys deserve it for not only being our Patreon members, but supporting the content and believing in the content that we put out. So everybody from Top Flight and We're Austin TV, thanks to all the Patreon supporters out there. And they got to ask Rave Green TV some questions, so we'll see what they had to say there at the very end of the episode tonight. So let's get into it, y'all. Starting off tonight with the potential friendly between Austin FC and River Plate that could take place in January of 2024. Now, reports from Argentina indicate that River Plate will play two friendlies in Texas for their preseason from January 5th to the 20th. Now, one of those friendlies will be against Chivas, and the other rival is yet to be confirmed. However, it appears that Austin FC is a candidate to take on the latest Argentine champions, River Plate, Drussy's former team. It'll be a bit of an emotional match for Drusy. It'll be awesome to see him feel like a little kid, or maybe in his younger days, in his youth, right? We know that that's his boyhood team. We know that he has a tattoo of the River Plate crest on his foot, if I'm not mistaken. And it'll be a very, very good way for him to start the 2024 season. Hopefully, it'll have his mind right after the nice vacation that all the players took. But important to note that this team, River Plate, will add to the names of teams that we've played in friendlies. Well, of course, we've played Tigres, Atlas, Pachuca, and now we can add River Plate. I know one of the main questions going around social media, floating around the fans on different kinds of chat networks like Discord and Slack was, hey, is this a good tune-up? And we asked fans on Instagram. We ran a poll off of We're Austin TV, and it was a good 90 to 10%, but 10% of Austin FC fans thought that this was not a good tune-up for Austin FC. So why was that 10% in favor of no? We'll see why they think that is not going to be a good tune-up. In my opinion, I think it'll be a great way to start the season. For Drusy, obviously, get his mental right, play against his former club, get him happy, get him all just up for the season. And then for the boys to, know what competition is right around the corner, and they need to be in tip-top shape. So, possible friendly in 2024 against River Plate. It is from Banda Roja _ and Sebas Rur, two accounts that follow Argentine football and River Plate very closely. So I would keep an eye on this topic moving forward. And another thing that people asked was, why not in Austin? Why is it in Dallas? Well, the chatter around this is that River Plate is going to be stationed in Dallas and then Bradenton, Florida. And so Austin FC could be doing them the favor and say, hey, you came all the way from Argentina. We'll do you the favor and we'll drive up 3 hours to go hang out with you. And what do you think? Maybe the Cotton Bowl? Because I don't know if they'll get the AT&T Stadium. It should be at Q2. I agree. It should be at Q2. But if they're stationed in Dallas or they're training in Dallas, I don't see them making another drive to Q2 Stadium. But we'll see. We'll see. They have been here before, so we'll see what happens there. Maybe they'll do the solid for Seba Drusy. We'll see what happens. Now, all right, moving forward, y'all, to the Dani Pereira update, because LAFC no longer leads the race for Mr. Dani Pereira. Now, this is, I'm going to read the tweet from Tiago Brandao. Tiago Brandao, a Portuguese reporter, Brazilian reporter, sorry, speaks Portuguese. Now, his tweet says this. LAFC has stepped away from the race for Daniel Pereira. The interest was very strong and the negotiations were even quite advanced. But in the last few days, the club has distanced itself from the player. We still don't know the reason, however. Dani is unlikely to move to LA. That was from Thiago via Twitter or X, whatever you call it. Now, the interest was first reported by We're Austin TV. We did say that 5 teams were interested in Dani Pereira, LAFC being the one in the lead. Thiago now confirms that they are distancing themselves from Dani Pereira. So what's going to happen with Dani? We know that he's not going to LA. There was reports of possible Charlotte link. They weren't even top 3, so he's not going to Charlotte as of what we've been told right now. And there was also rumors of Columbus. There was rumors of Miami, New York City FC. So where's Dani going to land? As of right now, it is not something that we know. It is just going to be pure speculation. But things have been quiet. And right now during transfer season, I know that if Neff was here tonight, he'd be saying that anything can happen. Tomorrow things could change. In 2 days things could change. So I'd keep an eye on this situation right now. I know that it's ongoing, developing. So where's Dani Pereira going to play in 2024? I would hope it's Austin FC. I think he's a fantastic, marvelous player. His stats speak for themselves, playing over 2,000 minutes for Austin FC. We're going to miss him whenever he leaves Austin FC. But I've also already made kind of peace with the fact that this kid is going to be leaving Austin FC sooner than later because he's very talented. He knows what to do with the ball. He breaks lines. He's already getting call-ups to his national team. And Venezuela is in a great moment where they could make the World Cup for the first time in their history. Now, if Dani Pereira is part of that group that makes that historic moment possible for a whole country, I mean, stock is just going to go up. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if we'll be able to reap those rewards for Dani Pereira's stock going up and up and up and up. So maybe one of the reasons why he has to leave now this window is so that we could get something out of it. Like, example, a trade, or everybody likes to joke about it, but some GAM. But we'll see what happens with Dani Pereira. As of right now, we know that LAFC no longer leads the race for Dani Pereira. So we'll see what happens there. Now, moving on to, this is something that has been ongoing. This is a bit of a flirty situation. The Funes Mori rumors are back. Now, journalist Jorge Iturralde recently teased the topic with a bit of a cryptic tweet. Now, George said this on Twitter. He says, "What would an Argentinian twin look like dressed in verde?" Now, Funes Mori does have a twin, and fans immediately knew what he was talking about. So underneath that tweet, they started posting GIFs of Funes Mori, photos of Funes Mori, tweets of Funes Mori, this and that. You get it, right? So I want to ask the fans that are listening to this. I mean, listeners out there, do you think Funes Mori would, number one, fit the system here with Josh Wolf as coach? And is he worth the investment at 32 years of age? Because often the striker position is criticized at Austin FC for being not productive enough, but also for being kind of old when we're talking about soccer terms. Now, 33, 32 is still a very young man, you could say, but in soccer terms, I mean, it's the back end of a career, and the MLS is changing every year. It's just getting better and better, and teams are getting better at that position. And it seems like Austin FC, or at least a lot of Austin fans will agree, is that we've just haven't gotten better at that position. And 2024 needs to be a much more productive number 9 season. We'll see what happens there. Now, some stats for Funes Mori in 2023-2024, the most recent Liga MX tournament that just ended. He had 17 goals, 2 assists, over 1,100 minutes played so far in the Liga MX recent season. And in the 2022-2023, which is in the other Liga MX tournaments because they did 2 in 1 year, he had 38 games, 19 goals, 3 assists, over 2,600 minutes played, and that was in Liga MX, those 2 tournaments, the Clausura, Apertura, and the Leagues Cup. So, at 32 years of age, this guy is still scoring goals. He's still banging them in, part of a very expensive Monterrey squad. So, I don't know if he would come to Austin FC. There has been rumors of him going to Grêmio in Brazil. I know that the Brazilian league is going to be very powerful next year. They're getting a lot of good players, but I don't know what's going to happen with this guy, Funes Mori. Jorge wouldn't just tweet something out there for nothing, right? So we'll see what happens, where Funes Mori will land on in 2024. Now, moving forward to something a little bit bigger, bombshell. Something that has been developing in the last couple of hours. Club Olimpia and San Lorenzo after Romaña. Now, this has been a topic for some days, but the interest of San Lorenzo, which we're going to get into here bit by bit by bit, is the piece developing in the last couple of hours. Now, recent reports coming out of Paraguay had Johan Romaña going on loan again, ladies and gentlemen, in 2024, but this time there's two teams that were reportedly interested in him. Now, one, of course, being Club Olimpia of Paraguay, and the other one, San Lorenzo. Those are the two teams, as the title mentioned, of course, right? Now, Club Olimpia currently has Romaña on contract until December 31st and wanted or wants to extend the loan for 2024. But the process is complicated due to financial reasons that the club currently faces, and we've stated them in spaces and in other podcasts before that we don't have to get into here tonight. But Olimpia is currently facing some financial issues, so that's really the main obstacle in keeping a player like Johan Romaña. Now, in comes San Lorenzo. San Lorenzo enters the chat. San Lorenzo of Argentina, they've entered the race for Romaña and reportedly was ready or is ready to offer Austin FC around $200K to secure the player Johan Romaña on loan for the 2024 season with an option for purchase after the deal expires. Very interesting there. They're very keen on signing this guy, Johan Romaña. A lot of people in South America are very interested in signing Johan Romaña. And a little bit of an interesting detail here, side note, it's caused a lot of Austin FC fans to wonder to themselves, if he's valuable in South America, if people chase him, if they're after his services, why is he not working in MLS with Josh Wolf? Why? That's a very interesting question. Now, the information was first reported, very important, by Leandro Alves and Refuerzos Casla, also Bruno Pont. Now, the two-team horse race was all developing December 25th, so on Christmas Day. So that's very important to note there. Now, we fast forward to today, Wednesday, December 27th, around 4 p.m. Central Time, I'm going to say. Erwin Velasquez, a journalist that covers Olimpia, and Adam Benlazes here from Austin, who is in our Discord, by the way. He's also a writer for Area Sports Network, confirmed via Twitter that Romaña has verbally agreed to join San Lorenzo on loan with an option for purchase. A fee rumored to be around 1.8 mil. Very interesting there. That 1.8 fee seems a little bit high. Football Critic did kind of break it down a little bit, but that's where we're at right now. Now, you can ask yourself, why didn't it work out for Johan Romaña? Should he have been brought back to Austin FC? Well, a lot of fans had different takes on it. You know, we have to be real. Some fans wanted him to stay. Other fans, you know, they understood that Johan Romaña was not going to see minutes here. But in the end, he's most likely, looks like it's just a matter of San Lorenzo being cleared to sign an international player. It looks like he's going to be joining them 100%. Now, Johan Romaña is a guy that's a fantastic person on and off the pitch. He's a great guy with the fans. He's a great guy on the pitch. I don't think he's ever gotten into an altercation on the field. And you could say that you're sad to see him go, but some fans will tell you that they're sad to see him go because he's finally going to get, that consistent PT. He saw it in Olimpia where he shined in Copa Libertadores. And that's one of the main reasons why a lot of these teams are after him in South America, because of what he showed in those games. Now, in the post that we have on Instagram, Robert P. Allen says, I don't mind stacking that cash as long as we have a good plan for it. So fans kind of in favor of Johan Romaña going on loan to San Lorenzo. Now, Dustin Weiss, 99, says, considering they have done little to address the need so far and we are in dire need of center backs, this would make sense. Kind of like signing another goalkeeper. So maybe a bit of a jokester there. And then Honorary Ballsack says, we should take it. Can use the money to find another center back or maybe a guy who does great out in wide spaces. So just like you heard there, some guys, some fans, happy to see Johan Romaña walk out the door if it means that we're going to get something in return for him. Reported 200,000 is what San Lorenzo is willing to send to Austin FC for the services of Romaña. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, maybe some of you are asking, hey, who is San Lorenzo? Who is this team? Where are they from? Well, full name, Club Atlético San Lorenzo de Almagro. Interesting there. Their nicknames are Los Santos, Los Cuervos. Austin FC fans are going to know that nickname. El Ciclón, Azulgrana, Los Matadores, Gauchos de Buevo, Boedo, I'm sorry. They were founded April 1st of 1908, so that makes them 115 years old. Their stadium ground is Pedro Bidegain, a capacity of 47,000, almost 48,000. Their current chairman is Horacio Arreceigor. Manager is Rubén Darío Insua. They play in the Primera División. In 2023, they finished third place. Very important to note there. And the last time they won the league was in 2013. So very important there to note about San Lorenzo. I think that was the last time they won the league in 2013. If I'm mistaken, my bad. Y'all can check me on that. But Johan Romaña rumored to be going there. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I think it'll be good for the player. He'll get his consistent minutes there. Hopefully, at the end, he not only improves himself, but he impresses them enough to make them send a nice little fee back to Austin FC so we can use that money to build off of. Because really, Johan Romaña is part of the Austin FC 1.0 squad that we had with the Claudio Reina signings and the Josh Wolf signings. And I don't know if you can credit that to Sean Rubio because he came into the picture a little bit later. But this is now Rodo's team. And this is part of the rebuild that a lot of fans have been talking about. A lot of people on social media have been talking about. So this is something that we saw with Nick Lima. This is something that we saw with Diego Fagundes. This is something that we might see with Dani Pereira. You know, this Austin FC 1.0 squad that we're trying to just turn into GAM or turn into different pieces in order to build that 2.0 squad that'll lead us into a title. Now, I'm not saying that the players that could be leaving out the door are not capable of leading us to a title, but they're assets that the FO, the coaching staff, are most likely going to act on to get the most that they can, either in GAM or in different acquisitions like trades, especially in the MLS. You know how it goes, but we'll see. Now, we touched up on Club Olimpia, San Lorenzo's interest for Romaña, the Funes Mori rumors, Dani Pereira's update, the potential friendly between Austin FC and River Plate. So, without further ado, I think we can get into the interview with my G, Shauyan from RaveGreenTV. So, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Let's go. All right, y'all, we're back. As promised, like I was teasing at the beginning of the episode, we got my G Shauyan all the way from Seattle, Rave Green TV in the building. Number one, the prediction god. I mean, you made it all the way to the last 8 in the MLS playoff bracket. First of all, how are you doing today? And defend that title. Why should people know you as the prediction god? Welcome to Top Flight, bro.
Thank you so much, Ronaldo. I mean, that was an intro and a half, boys and girls. I mean, I think my prediction god status will be solidified at least till the start of next season. Obviously, I get some things wrong, some things I get right, but if you have a prediction, I want you guys all to know to defend it with your heart, because you never know if you'll be right or wrong. But I appreciate that, and I'm excited to be on a Top Flight episode and to be talking with you guys. And yeah, I'm really pumped.
Definitely, mate. And I only knew to reach out to one person because when something happens with Seattle and Austin FC, I mean, the Seattle expert that I go to is obviously Rave Green TV, Shauyan. So if anybody listening to this wants to keep up with Seattle Sounders news, highly recommend you follow the page Rave Green TV. However, they did have a very controversial tweet towards the end of last season that had me making calls day and night trying to get people from not going after this guy. So Rave Green TV, my G Shauyan, controversial guy, but some of the best Sounders updates out there on social media. So do yourself a favor. If you're a Seattle fan, make sure to check out his content. And not only Seattle, I see you got the Team Melly Iran jersey back there. Tell people a bit of about your background, bro. Like what is that about?
Yeah, so I mean, both my parents are Iranian, so big Iranian national team fan. Obviously, I grew up in the U.S., but like I'm a first generation like Iranian, and so that's like my other passion is not just Sounders, but the Iranian national team. Obviously, MLS I love. I've been watching MLS since like 2012. It's like over a decade now. That's so weird to me because when the league was young when I started watching, it wasn't really a big thing. And my other passion was Iranian football, and Iran is like a very historic national team. I didn't know that, but a very historic national team. I've had a lot of great, like, very accomplished players. I mean, there's like Ali Dai, Ali Karimi, Mehdi Matakia. I mean, a lot of Javad Nekuna, Masoud Shojai, players that played in La Liga, Bundesliga. I mean, international record goal scorers. I mean, have done crazy things and stuff. That's another one of my passions. I love the Iranian national team. We have a lot of great players. I mean, right now at Porto, for all the Hispanic followers, 'cause I know you guys have a lot of those. I mean, there's Jorge Sanchez and Mehdi Taremi at SC
Yep.
Porto. I mean, at Feyenoord, there's Santi
Feyenoord,
Jimenez and
Santi
Ali
Jimenez.
Reza Jahanbash. They post a lot. Those guys have like a really good friendship off the field too. I always see them posting with each other, and so, for me, I always was more leaning towards Iranian football, like the Iranian national team compared to the US. I just never really got into the US men's national team as much. I mean, I grew up in an Iranian household, not very like Americanized,
Fair,
so
of course.
yeah.
All right. Well, a little bit of background there from IG Shauyan from Rave Green TV, just in case you're wondering, why does that guy have an Iran jersey in the background? Very important, the pronunciation. We saw what happened with who was that in the interviews? Tyler Adams, that
Yeah.
controversial. Was it post match or pre-game
I think it was like, yeah,
interview?
pre-interviews before the match in the World Cup. Yeah, that was so annoying. It was just dumb on so many levels by
It
the
was
reporter.
crazy.
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like that in my life. But hey, soccer is big like that, and we saw it right there. But we're here tonight to talk about one man, my G Cheyenne, and it's Stefan Cleveland. The big news around Austin FC right now, it might not be too big for Seattle Sounders fans, but for Austin FC fans, it's kind of hectic right now in our universe because the goalkeeper situation, man. I mean, this signing really throws everything out of whack. It kind of just almost eliminates a big portion of what we thought we knew going into the season. And it leaves you wondering, well, hey, who is going to be the starting keeper or the for sure backup of 2024? Now, that's some things that we have to touch up on here tonight. We have some questions from our Patreon members, Cheyenne, that you're going to answer here at the very end, and some very, very good questions that they had for us here in store on the Top Flight Pod here tonight. But before we get into that, I'm going to read a little bit of the press release, if you don't mind. Now, this says Austin FC announced that the club reached an agreement to sign free agent goalkeeper Stefan Cleveland. Cleveland joins the Verde and Black on a 2-year guaranteed contract through the end of the 2025 MLS season with an additional option for 2026. A quote from Rodolfo Borrell says this: "We're happy to add someone of Stefan's caliber to the talented group of goalkeepers on our roster. He'll be a very strong addition to our club and our community, and we look forward to welcoming him to Austin." Once again, that was Rodo Borrell, or you can call him Rodolfo Borrell. Now, some little stats here, some information for everybody. Cleveland, age 29, made his MLS debut in 2017 after being selected by the Chicago Fire in the second round of the MLS Super Draft. During the initial 2 years of his professional career, he gained valuable experience on loan at FC Tulsa, formerly Tulsa Roughnecks, in the USL Championship, simultaneously making 5 MLS starts for Chicago. Now, moving forward in 2019, Cleveland embarked on a loan spell with USL's League One's Lansing Ignite, showcasing impressive form with 7 clean sheets in 22 matches, contributing significantly to the team's second place finish following his successful loan spell. Seattle Sounders FC acquired Stefan Cleveland through a trade after that. Now, the pinnacle of Cleveland's MLS career so far came in 2021 when he achieved personal best in starts, which is 15 of 1,300 minutes or just above that minutes played, 3 shutouts, 29 saves throughout his 4 seasons with Seattle. Now, Cleveland amassed 4 clean sheets and made 61 saves across 24 matches. A lot of people won't care about this, but for the MLS sickos out there, his college career or his college journey includes a 3-year stint at Dartmouth College, where he
Dartmouth.
earned Dartmouth, where he earned Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year honors in 2015. Now, Cheyenne, I talked way too much there. I'm rambling there just a bit. What was your reaction when you saw on social media that Cleveland was coming to Austin FC?
Yeah, I think actually, as much as you might not think it's not big news for us. It's not necessarily big news for us, but in regards to like players that we did, for our roster decisions, that was probably the biggest one. That was the one where the fans were splitting in opinions, was with Stefan Cleveland, because some fans might think maybe it's time for a new guard in the goalkeeper position, because as great of a season Stefan Fry has had, he's like 37 now, like he is really up there in age. And some fans, like with the cameos Cleveland has had, like you mentioned, his best season, I would say, I think in all of his career so far was in 2021, where he got a long stretch of games because Fry had a long-term injury that year. And Stefan Cleveland held it down really well. Granted, we were really good in the regular season that year, but I'm not to discredit Cleveland. I think he played a good role in that. I mean, to jump right in, to help us win back to back to back games. We were undefeated for the longest of time in that season in 2021. To not keep Cleveland, to just straight up like be like, yeah, we just won't exercise anything for him. He's done. He's out of contract. Was kind of surprising for fans. I would say it's like a 30-70 split. I'd say if 30% of fans were like, maybe let's start giving Cleveland a go because he's not young, but he's not old. He's like almost 10 years younger than Fry, and he's had minutes under us. He's been part of our goalkeeping group, so it's like it would be an easier gelled to bring him in. The fact we're just like, you know what, we're just gonna stick with Fry. If Jacob Castro or Andrew Thomas, those are like other backup goalkeepers, but obviously below Cleveland in the pecking order. I guess we're gonna trust them to be the backups and maybe take the mantle. I mean, I've heard Brian Schmetzer's had high praise for Jacob Castro, who's like our third/fourth string goalkeeper when he played for our second team, the Defiance. So maybe they want him to be the backup for now to Fry, and maybe he would prove his worth. But I don't know. I was a little bit surprised too about the news with Cleveland, and I think even some Sounders fans were too. And some Sounders fans were totally cool with giving Cleveland the mantle, like letting this be the opportunity where we slowly transition the goalkeeping department. So just to flat out be like, yeah, you know what, we'll let him go to Austin for free. I think some fans were pretty surprised about that.
Interesting, mate. Now you talk about the fans and what kind of like what their reaction was from the Seattle side. Well, I'm gonna read you some comments that people left on our Instagram post when we announced that Austin FC had picked him up from free agency. Now this is from Grump_E7. He says, "Why? This is a bad move to me. Even if they got rid of Bersano, Law should be allowed to compete for that number 1 spot against Stuver. If they wanted another keeper, it should have been a younger one that would replace Laws in Austin FC too. Not an older one that's going to keep Las in the second team." You have any reaction to that comment?
It just depends on where you stand with Stuver, because I think Stuver's the big anomaly in this situation. Because I know last year Austin FC2 won the MLS Next Pro, and so
Mm-hmm.
and I think when St. Louis, they won it the year before they came into MLS, so they did have some players that were a part of like from their MLS Next Pro 2 team that were a part of this season for them in their inaugural year. And then, some teams have kind of brought in a lot of the MLS Next Pro goalkeepers. We saw it, I believe, with Cincy, I believe with Columbus. They're all really young goalkeepers. Again, don't quote me, but for one of those teams at least. A lot of teams are starting to bring up some of their players from the MLS Next Pro teams that they have. And Austin, of course, were the champions. And Austin had a bit of a slump last year. So maybe you'd think there might be some chopping and changing within Austin's younger group from Next Pro. But maybe as well, maybe the Austin front office might not be favoring any of their Next Pro players. And that maybe includes Loss, who was your guys' goalkeeper last year.
Interesting, man. Now, just one more comment from this post before I go to another post that I want your opinion on. This is Frankenballer. He says, "As good as he's been, I doubt Stuver has as much trade value as Loss. I was really looking forward to Damien being our first team #1 in the coming seasons. This move doesn't make much sense without trading a goalkeeper, though. I'd rather trade Stuver. Nothing personal, but the fan base would see that as yet another betrayal by the front office." So, moving forward to a post that we had about the 2023 stats. Now, this is a big talking point that had a lot of Austin FC fans going back and forth, bro. And we need some context from the Seattle side. Now, we did go to social media with a graphic that had Cleveland's 2023 stats, where it shows that he played 408 minutes, 5 matches played, 15 goals conceded with no clean sheets. He featured in MLS, U.S. Open Cup, and the Leagues Cup. And that had a little bit of Austin FC fans riled up. For Martin7 says, "Same dude that got scored on 4 goals by a no longer existing team." Huddy001 says, "He has to be third string and we get rid of Bersano or Stuver because Loss is too good." Let's see, moving forward. Somebody says, "Pointless." Someone says, "Waste." Some other fans said, "Can he compete for a starting spot? Check out those stats. Who put 0 clean sheets on there like it's a brag?" So we need a little bit of shield for Cleveland. what can Seattle fans say in defense of these stats of 2023? Because on paper, Austin fans are not excited, but if you analyze some of his work throughout the season, he's had some massive saves, some very nice instinctive saves where he gets down so quick and makes you wondering, how does a keeper of his height get low that quick? So is there a bit of defense coming from the Seattle side that you can give Stefan Cleveland?
Yeah, I think I don't blame any of the Austin fans' reactions. When you look at Stephen Cleveland's stats, it's nothing great. It just looks like, he's just like some just below par MLS goalkeeper. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like I'm not like a Stephen Cleveland stand where I'll be like I'll ride or die with Stephen Cleveland, but there is
Mhm.
definitely context behind it. Sounders were really up and down last season. I would not look into Stephen Cleveland in 2023. I'd look into him in 2021 because that's his longest stretch of games he has. And I don't think it's fair to ever judge a player and they start some games like it's a stop and go type of thing. It's counts for strikers, midfielders, defenders. You need a stretch of games and you get an actual sample size of how good or bad is this goalkeeper. And with the opportunities Cleveland had, we were sadly in a rough patch in a lot of those games. We Sounders have not really been that good in cup competitions, Open Cup, Leagues Cup. We got bounced out in almost the early rounds in every competition, and I spoke about it in my season review. And sadly for Cleveland, and I don't think he's at fault at all in any of these situations. We played bad in all of these opening cup games, and that's the games he gets some opportunities in because it's like, okay, we're gonna throw a B team. What are you gonna expect Stephen Cleveland to stand on his head when we're playing a bunch of young kids in front of him, like players that don't normally play on the first team and all that? Like, I don't know. I think when he has played, he's gotten opportunities. He's done well. He's made saves. I think he's not really that bad of a goalkeeper. I think he deserves a shout to be a starting goalkeeper in MLS. He's proven himself. The times he has gone with the Sounders, he's played really well. I mean, he's convinced part of our fan base that they're willing to give a chance on him to be a starter over Stephen Fry, arguably one of the, if not one of the top three greatest, at least, goalkeepers in MLS history. So it shows that he's not like a scrub. He just hasn't gone like a good run of games. And I think that like for any player, you need that run of games. You guys all know for backup goalkeepers, they're not going to get much opportunities unless the goalkeeper has a long injury. And he did in 2021. And I think he did a good job for the most part.
The life of a backup goalkeeper is very tough
Yeah.
because you don't know when you're going to get called up on, and when you are called up on, you're expected to perform like the guy that you're about to go in for. So maybe some merit right there for your points that you've been making, mate. Now, I went back and I was analyzing the performances, the matches that he had in 2023, the match ratings that SofaScore gave them. I know different websites will give you different numbers, but this is something to go off of, I guess you could say, and some notes from each match that I put to the side. Now, starting off with the 6.5 match rating versus San Diego Loyal in a 5-4 win. The U.S. Open Cup took place April 26th. Most of them were golazos that no keeper could have saved a lot of those shots, and even then he made some really impressive saves that game. But MLS veteran Joe Corona really shined out that game. Banger free kick, I think 1 or 2 assists. But looking at those highlights, I mean, it was a 5-4, and some of the goals
It's
scored,
just a good
especially
game.
a great game. And then that fourth goal that San Diego scored, I mean, oh my God, something of dreams. What a strike. Now moving forward, a 5.8 match rating versus the LA Galaxy and a 3-1 loss. That was in the US Open Cup, May 10th. Memo Rodriguez, a familiar name for Austin FC fans, he had a brace that game. And that was enough to obviously defeat Mr. Cleveland. It was a curler shot and a corner kick spill in the box that the LA Galaxy took care of, they took advantage of. But 5.8 match rating there. Now moving forward, a 6.6 match rating versus Vancouver. That was a 3-2 win in July 8th, MLS League play. Now this game, he had some insane saves,
That was his
but
best game.
poor defending by Seattle on set pieces and from a Vancouver goal kick. They just one-on-one versus Stefan. That was hard to save right there. Now 6.2 match rating versus San Jose, 2-0 defeat, July 12th, MLS League play. He's never saved a PK in his MLS career, and Christian Espinosa does not miss from that freaking spot. And he got a hand on a volley from about 8 yards out, but it wasn't enough.
Wasn't
Now I
that
couldn't get.
Wasn't
Go
that the
ahead.
goal that he conceded with one of the goal of the year candidates? Was that game too?
Not couldn't have been this game because these were two average goals.
Okay, never mind.
Maybe it was a
Mu-
different San Jose game, but these are two
Okay.
very average goals. Now the match rating versus Monterrey in the Leagues Cup, I couldn't find it. So I'm gonna ask you, what happened in that 4-2 defeat? Because y'all were
Th-
up.
we got outclassed that game. That has nothing to do. Okay, that is zero. I'm trying to. I want to explain to fans. We were not good in any cup competition we played in. None. We
Mm.
got bounced out in the first round of the Club World Cup. We got bounced around in the early rounds of the Open Cup. We got bounced out in the group stage of the Leagues Cup. We got bounced out in the beginning of the single round elimination in the playoffs. We didn't play well in any cup competition for Fry or Cleveland. It doesn't matter about the goalkeeper. But Leagues Cup, bro, that was a disaster. We already got clapped 3-0 by Salt Lake with Fry in goal. It doesn't that was just defense. We got outclassed. It was men against boys in both of those games.
Now you say the 6.6 match rating versus Vancouver. You say that was his best games. Why do you say that?
Dude, the amount of saves he made in that game, clutch
Insane.
saves. Yeah, he made some really great saves in that match. And that was the game where fans were kind of like, maybe is it time to give Cleveland a go? Like that was the one where they're
Really?
like, it
Okay.
was like, I don't know. I think that was the game where like the heads were starting to turn, being like, maybe is it time to start thinking about I don't want to put words in everyone's mouth, but some fans were like texting me being like, "Hey, maybe like, dude, this is the type of game like I saw from Cleveland 2021 that made me think maybe is it time to start changing goalkeepers?" And it's not any shade against Fry. Fry's up there in age, and I want Fry to leave as a hero, not the villain. I don't want him to have a bad stint as our goalkeeper. And
Mm.
so I'm cool with either or of them. Like I was totally fine with either or of them. But that was definitely Cleveland's best game against Vancouver. He played super well, and that was a game where Sounders were in bad form. And if he doesn't make those few saves that he made, some world class saves, I think that game would have been a whole different story.
Completely agree. Now, in the Monterrey match, I forgot to mention this. In the first goal that Monterrey was able to put into the back of the net, he makes a great initial save. But unfortunately for him, the bounce falls right to the striker, and they're not going to miss two times from inside the 6 yard box. But I mean, this guy, I noticed that he makes great instinctive saves, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, but his reactions are pretty top tier reactions. He's tall, he's creeping 30, but we all know goalkeepers get better with age. So a lot of fans were wondering, like, hey, this guy is not going to come here to be number three. He's looking for number two. And you were even telling me earlier this week, like, hey, why would this guy leave number two to be number two somewhere else? Like something's going on there. And a lot of the Patreon members kind of touched up on that topic. So, would you mind if we got into the questions next?
Let's go. Let's go.
All right, moving forward to questions for Rave Green TV from our Patreon members. So, shout out to them. Starting off with number one. You ready? Drum roll. We don't need one. We're good. All right. Question number one says, "Can Stefan play it out the back, or are we in for another season of bloopers from the keeper?"
um, I don't think Sounders are a team that necessarily like we do play out from the back. If anything, I would argue that Stefan Cleveland was a little bit better at playing out of the back than Stefan Fry. But then again, there is one game, and that was the only game that I thought Stephen Cleveland ever played poorly, was in the game in 2021 against the Timbers at home. We could have swept them in the season. We already beat them twice in Portland, and we could have swept them. But Cleveland has a really bad mistake at the end of the game, which makes it end 2-0. And he had a bad mix-up as well for Yamar for the first goal. And that was the only game where his distribution was bad. But it happens. Everyone has an off day. Sadly, I wish it wasn't against the Timbers. But I would say his distribution is pretty good. Yeah, I don't think you should have much issue. I would argue I think it might be better than all the goalkeepers. I mean, I think it's better than Stuvers.
I don't know. Stuber's been he's been playing out the back for 3 years now, so hopefully he's pretty good at it by now. But there are some times where he commits these mistakes that fans are left wondering, Stu, what are you doing there? So I don't know. Very interesting to see if Stefan is better than Stuber with the ball at their feet.
Maybe they might be on the same par. I don't know, but
All right.
I think he's not. I think he's pretty good because Seattle's known to be a very fluid, structured team, and he definitely knows how we like to play. I'm not saying we're like a Manchester City Pep Guardiola play out of the back. When we need to clear it, we know when to clear it. Like we
For
don't
sure.
force that method, but he can play out of the back for sure.
Okay, all right. Now moving forward to question number two. This says, I'm wondering what are some of the traits and knowledge he has learned on past teams that he feels can benefit Austin FC and his time here. That's a
It's
good
not to
question.
throw any shade at Austin at all because you guys are still a young team, but I think he knows
Mm.
what success is.
Okay.
He knows what a successful setup looks like, a successful organization. And again, not to say Austin's not that, but you need a few players that have been a part of successful teams just to have in the locker room, to have on the field, because he knows when like shit hits the fan, what do the winning teams do when things are not going well, you know?
Hmm.
And I think he's also worked under, as I've already mentioned, one of the best goalkeepers. He's the only, I think, player in MLS history to win everything is Stefan Fry. He's won everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that to be a part of that group where Seattle has only had 3 goalkeepers in their franchise history. Casey Keller, Michael Spruning, Stefan Fry. And the fact he was a part of that mix, that group, where it's the same goalkeeping coach of Tommy Dutra, who's created so many good goalkeepers. We have Tyler Miller, if you guys remember him. He was one of our backup goalkeepers too. We sold him to LAFC, and he was a big part of their success in 2019, where they won the Supporter Shield, part of their expansion season 2018. Some fans might think this could be a Tyler Miller 2.0 situation, where we're letting go of the backup goalkeeper that had potential, and he might do bits at another MLS team when given the chance. And that's
Mm.
what happened with Tyler Miller, for example. More for an example, it's more recent. Obviously, now he's had a lot of bad injuries and stuff. But when Tyler Miller was given the chance, when he went to LAFC for their expansion year, his first ever game was at home against Seattle, and he kept the clean sheet for LAFC in their first ever game. And funnily
Mm.
enough, we play against you guys in our opening game next season. And that's what I'm saying. The weird stars are aligning.
Hey, they say history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see, mate. Really good answer there. I like that. I like what you brought up about the whole keeper situation. How Seattle has had a very tight group in their history. That's a very interesting take there, bro. And I mean, I, I knew who to call. I knew who to call, bro. Rave Green TV. All right, moving forward. Question number three says, can you ask them, Rave Green TV? Can you ask Sorry. Can you ask Rave Green TV why he thinks they let Cleveland go and re-sign Fry, who is older and probably making more? What's the play behind that? I feel like you kind of hinted it on that a bit earlier in the pod, but you can answer it again. Why Fry? He is
I
older, so why Fry?
I don't know. I mean, it was honestly in my eyes personally, the goalkeeping position was not something I was super worried about. It's not, I don't think it's Seattle's biggest concern. So I was really indifferent of would you let go of arguably one of the best goalkeepers last season? But then again, he is like 37, 38. Like, I don't want things to end sourly for Fry. Kind of like what you're seeing with Rui Diaz, a little bit what we
Hmm.
saw with Ladero. Like,
Hmm.
I don't want it to end on a bad note where we see Fry making, because when things get bad for a goalkeeper, it gets bad because they're the goalkeeper. They're the last line before the ball can go into the back of the net. And if they make mistakes, it doesn't look good compared to a forward who makes mistakes or a midfielder who makes mistakes. The goalkeeper, you cost them goals if you make a mistake. And so I think the play with them is, I think they're just gonna rate Jacob. I'm guessing Jacob Castro, who is our third/fourth string goalkeeper. They rate him more to be the backup. They're just like, I mean, like at the end of the day, we had 4 goalkeepers. We had so many, and you have to let one of them go. And they're like, with Cleveland, he's on a bit more money, of course, because he's a backup goalkeeper.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, Cleveland deserved a shot to be a number one somewhere else. Like, he deserves that opportunity. He's proved it to us. And sadly, Seattle were like, we're going to stick with Fry. He's done it for us. We're going to give him another 2 years. And that might be the end of it. But maybe Stephen Cleveland wasn't willing to wait another 2 years.
That is a good point. Like, what was his situation? Like, what did he want in his career? Now, two things. You touched up on the four keeper situation. Austin FC currently finds himself in that situation. They're wondering, hey, who's gonna be let go? Somebody has to go. We love Stuver. We love Damian Loss because of what he can become and what good goalkeeper he already is. And then you enter Cleveland into the mix, who some fans know he's a great keeper, know he's a great backup. He hasn't really been seen as that number one, but know that there's potential there. And the odd one out of the group, I know disrespect to the guy, but I think Bersano is going to be the one that's going to be heading out the door in Austin FC. Now there is rumors of him, not rumors, but there's little links, little shouts or whatever, speculation, fan fiction that he might be going to Dallas after some post from his wife on social media. But just like y'all's situation from the past, I feel like Austin FC has to let somebody go, and Bersano is going to be that guy. So we'll see what happens there, bro. But moving forward to the next question, on number 4, it says, looking at the amount of goals conceded in a relatively low amounts of games played, is there any context to is there any context to it? Singular bad performances, defense failed him, or what happened?
So I guess we're talking about the stretch of games he played last year where he conceded so many goals. I mean, I think we kind of
Yes,
talked about it is
we
where
did. We could kind of touch up
y-
on it.
yeah, but like I think Sounders fans can we were good defensively some games, but games when we would score goals, we couldn't hold it down. Seattle struggled in so many facets last year. Games where we could hold it down, keep that 0-0 game, we couldn't score to save our lives. But then games where we could score goals for fun, we would concede goals for fun. We had no consistency. And I think that might come down to tactics. I think maybe, and I'm pointing a little bit towards the fingers towards Brian Schmetzer, our head coach, in that regard. Could be because of individual players, as I mentioned earlier. I think Rui Diaz is not the player he used to be. Ladero is not the player he used to be. Morris is very inconsistent. We just didn't have consistent goal scorers. In our defense, there's only so many times a perfect defense. We're talking like a PK, Puyol, Albiol, whoever. They're not going to always keep clean sheets, however great they are.
Facts.
And when it comes to Stefan Cleveland, I mean, I think every game that he played, I think he played well. Granted, yeah, he conceded a lot of goals. I think he made the saves he had to. A lot of those goals are just extraordinary goals.
They
I
really
don't think you
were.
should look into the amount of goals he conceded, more so what he was able to do with the shots that were taken at him. I think is the more important part you need to look at.
So you think it's maybe bad reporting on stats by the graphic designer of Warehouse TV? Is
No, no, no,
that what
no,
you're
no.
saying?
Stats obviously
I'm
tell a
just
part
kidding.
of the story, but I think with Cleveland, I can tell you guys, if I was an Austin fan, I would be excited about this move because I
Okay.
think Stephen Cleveland's a guy that makes things interesting in a really good way for Austin. You guys could have, don't look at it as a negative with maybe Stuver might not be your number one. And I know he's a cult hero for you guys, but again, I'm looking at this in an unemotional stance because I couldn't give
100%.
a rat's ass about Stuver and I couldn't give a rat's ass anymore about Cleveland. But you guys have an interesting mix and an interesting opportunity to bring in a different type of goalkeeper that has MLS experience, has been a part of a very successful MLS organization and team, and has been under one of the best goalkeepers in MLS to possibly have a new fresh number one at the helm. Because obviously you guys have always had Stuver, but it's always hard to let go that the first love. And that was the same thing for Sounders fans when Casey Keller said goodbye. And
Hmm.
for Austin fans, I would be excited about this opportunity because Cleveland, if you guys give him the opportunities to shine, I think he could be a really good goalkeeper in your guys' future at that club.
I mean, you've heard some comments that I've read here tonight, but there were some fans that came out and they were very, very critical of this signing. Well, I'm gonna get to the next question, but they felt like the club and club owner Anthony Precourt kind of messed with their emotions a bit because they did drop the famous Verde smoke. Now, when the club owner Anthony Precourt drops this Verde smoke gift tweet, it means that a new player is coming. Now, in previous times, it has been, big name pedigree players that, like a Drusi, Rigoni, like a Zardes, get people excited, oh, these names are recognizable. So when there was a gentleman, a backup goalkeeper, Stefan Cleveland, when it was revealed on Christmas Eve that this was the new signing, I mean, I don't know if it was more of fans being upset that it wasn't a big name player, like a striker player, or the fact that they're genuinely upset that it's like a backup goalkeeper like Cleveland. But I agree with a lot that you're saying here tonight, man. I mean, I think this guy is something to be excited about, and he does add something positive into our goalkeeper mix. I mean, we're it's only healthy to get better. You know what I'm saying? And Stuber, just like you said, Stuber is a hero for Austin FC, but looking at it in a non-emotional way, a non-emotional point of view, this guy adds competition to the mix, and that's healthy for this group. It really is. So, all right, man. Now moving on to maybe a bit of an easier question for you here tonight. The best pregame eats near Lumen Stadium, Lumen Field. Where do you eat?
Well, for me, I I don't really eat much before games. Like I don't really like do any tailgating or anything personally. Just me and my dad go about 2 hours before the game. We usually stop by. There's plenty of them. It's like a Brazilian coffee shop. It's called
Mm,
Catanda. It's in Seattle. It's in cities near Seattle, like downtown. We just get like a nice, maybe a Brazilian latte and then like an acai bowl. I try to eat kind of healthy because at the stadium the food's not like relatively the most nutritional. So that's something I would get. I think that's a good pregame eat. Or if we're really feeling ourselves near downtown Seattle as well, there's a place called La Cana. It's like a Central American restaurant where there's like Honduran food, El Salvadorian food, Guatemalan food. So maybe we get a little pupusas and then maybe some
okay,
tajadas. And
okay.
that's if me and my dad are feeling ourselves. But yeah, we usually don't like getting food in Seattle because I don't think there's a lot of great restaurants that are fairly priced. So we go to cities very close to it. So those are the two staples, in my opinion, of things we like to go get before games.
There you go, y'all. You heard it here first, where Rave Green TV, my G Shauyan likes to eat outside when he's feeling himself.
Yes.
Important to note. Now, question number 6 says, would you consider Stephen Fry a good role model for Cleveland? And have you seen any similarities between the two goalkeepers?
100%. I mean, yes, already to the first part, is he a great role model? Yeah, 1000%, bro. Stephen Fry, he also, okay, also to talk about Fry, he wasn't like for Sounders fans, we were in the same boat as you guys. Like, if, like, for example, if Stuver ever leaves, like, fans had harpings on Michael Gushperning, and I got the chance to speak to Michael Gushperning, who was our goalkeeper after Casey Keller. Where fans were like, this guy's not it. Like, dude, he's taking the mantle from a great goalkeeper of Casey Keller to this. And even when Gushperning left, fans were like, oh, this Stephen Fry guy's he's not good. He made mistakes too. Stephen Fry made a lot of bad mistakes. Obviously, he went past that hurdle and then obviously became an MLS Cup final MVP when we won MLS Cup in 2016, but no goalkeeper transition was necessarily like squeaky clean smooth, like a nice slice of butter. And I think there are similarities between Cleveland and Fry. I mean, one, their first names are the exact same. They're both Steffens. And so there's already similarity number one. And I do think there are some clutch factors with Cleveland like there is with Fry. And I think Cleveland has helped us out in a lot of sticky moments. Obviously, we haven't like he wasn't our starting goalkeeper for winning CCL or winning any major trophies, but when you watch Cleveland play for a backup, fans have no complaints about him. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was a little bit of a head scratcher. It's probably our biggest head scratcher so far. It's like,
Hmm.
wow, we really just let him go on free agency to Austin. I think as well to Austin fans to touch upon your point that you made earlier about how they were kind of disappointed with the signing, and I get it. I mean, Sounders fans are in the same boat. We haven't made like a splash signing in years, and
You
like
got Pedro coming up.
well, hopefully, yeah. If that gets all locked up soon, we should have Pedro coming in. But like in my eyes, I've never seen a right formula where you bring in a big European goalkeeper in MLS. You want someone within MLS. I know there's Berkey most recently, but for the most part, kind of like the supporter shield curse with winning MLS Cup, there is the anomaly where LAFC like won it.
Hmm.
But for majority of the time, you want a goalkeeper within MLS. You don't want someone that's a European goalkeeper that's coming here because it usually doesn't always hit for some reason. But with Stephen Cleveland, I think you guys have something special, man. I'm gonna keep bringing it back. I think this is a good thing for Austin. Be it if you want to move on from Stuver, be it you got a hungry goalkeeper that's chomping at the bit where Stuver knows, oh shit, I can't have any more bad games because I have a
Hmm.
guy that is not here to be the number two. He is here
Yep.
for certainty. I can guarantee you guys, Cleveland is not there to come as your guys' number two. He is there to become Austin FC's number one. And he's gonna prove himself with any opportunity he gets in MLS.
Now you kind of answered the last two questions there in that kind of that Stefan rant that you just gave, and I want to kind of unpack it there just a bit because you mentioned something that instantly rang bells, and it's the fact that Stuver can't afford that many mistakes anymore. Now, last year, and maybe the year before that, when Stuver did commit some, spills at the back with his feet, or he, came out poorly with a throw into a teammate or whatever, but we looked around as Austin FC fans and we were like, hey, Stuber is the best thing we got in goal. So, I mean, do you trust Tarbell? Do you trust Bersano, who have been backup keepers in the past for Austin FC? And the answer is honestly no. Fans would rather ride it out with Stuber, but with this signing, it changes things. Now you have, oh, hey, Stuber, guess what? Cleveland's right there knocking on that door. And just like you mentioned earlier, I mean, can he fight to be number one? And that's the last questions that I had here. It says, in your opinion, do you think Cleveland can fight for the first spot here in Austin over Stuver and the promising Damian Loss? Because that's another name that Austin FC fans are entertaining right now is Damian Loss, MLS Next Pro Goalkeeper of the Year. Probably the main reason why the team even got to the final in the first place. I mean, not historic, heroic in penalty shootouts, heroic throughout the whole season. I mean, fans are really giving this guy a shout, Damian Loss. But in your opinion, I mean, can it be at the end of the season, Cleveland number one, Stuver number two, and then Damian Loss number three because he's still young?
I would argue that it would be, in my opinion, Stefan Fry. In my opinion, I believe it should maybe be Stefan Cleveland to be number one and maybe Damian Loss at number two. Because in my eyes, I think Stuver
You're
might
saying
be the
trade
odd
Stu.
man.
You're saying
I
trade
would get
Stu.
rid of Stuver, in my opinion. I think with Stuver, he's getting up there in age. I would give more of a chance to Cleveland. I would give more of a chance to Loss because like he's already proven like Loss is good. He's a keeper that he's above MLS Next Pro now. Like he helped you guys win that league. He helped you guys. He was the best goalkeeper in Next Pro. And Stefan Cleveland is a guy that's chomping at the bit. And Stuver's kind of a guy that, yes, I know he's been with you guys since the beginning, but at some point you just got to let it go and be like, I mean, Austin's roster, in my opinion, needs some slight refreshing in certain areas, especially defensively. In my eyes, wouldn't you want to have a guy that's more hungry or chomping at the bit, that still has more room to grow, that has a good foundation? But with Stuver, I think it's just, this is it. You're not going to gain anything else from Stuver. If anything, you're going to be stagnant and then might see little dips here and there. So boop up. Like with Cleveland, there's still room to grow, and because he's never been a number one, so this could be a huge opportunity to be your first defensive piece. Make Loss your number two, a guy that could be an understudy to that, and could still be chomping at the bit at Cleveland, being like, "Hey, I'm still here," and you can play your Open Cup games, your Leagues Cup games if you want to take that risk. There's plenty of competitions now in MLS where you could give Loss those first team minutes, maybe not in MLS, but maybe you might have a midweek game and Cleveland might have a little niggle. Then you play Loss. But with Stuver, there's no more room to grow. Why not give the guys that have the growth factors that could improve your team? And that's just how I look at it. I like it when it's okay to have some veteran pieces, but I feel like Austin FC has that in certain areas, with DeRussi up top, with Gallagher up top, with if Ring stays, Ring in the midfield, whoever it may be. You guys have pieces, I think, of experience in certain areas. But in the goalkeeping department, I think you might need to freshen up. I think Stuver's a good goalkeeper. I think he is, and I'm not saying he's a bad one. But maybe just, it's okay to let go too. It's okay. And hey, if you want to make Stuver your number three, I don't think it's a bad move either. I think Loss has more potential. I don't think Stuver would take that. I'm not saying he would, but I'm saying if that's how it's gonna have to go, that's how it's gonna have to go. But I would maybe rate if for Austin, for something fresh, something new, maybe you give Cleveland number one mantle. You give Loss the number two. You have a really good goalkeeping chart there, and they're all young. They're only going to get better over time.
Interesting take there. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did hear one or two Austin FC fans with that similar take, like, "Hey, Stuver is not gonna get any better. We should get the trade value for him as soon as possible because he is what he is." And we have two guys. Well, one guy for sure. Cleveland is, he could be still on the up, like we're saying. But I've heard Austin fans say something very similar to what you just told us right now, mate. Now, I think you answered everything pretty well. Hopefully that our Patreon members are satisfied with the answers that you gave them to their awesome questions that they gave us. Shout out to them for that. But I just have one more question for you, mate. Now, this was maybe a personal one, but it's about Cleveland or whatever. But I put it into my notes. What was his relationship like with Fry? Like was there any bickering back and forth, like this guy wants my job? What was that relationship like? Because there's going to be a lot of competition. How does this guy deal with it?
No, I think Stefan Cleveland's a good guy. Like, I had the opportunity with one of my very few in real life interviews with Sounders players. I got to interview Cleveland and Fry together,
Mm.
I was telling him before the recording, I was like, "Oh, when you guys introduce yourselves, do something funny." Like, "Okay, yeah, yeah, no problem." Like instantly, right from they didn't even have to think about it. And I was like, "I'm here with," and like Stefan and Stefan. Like they just like they didn't say like Fry and Cleveland. They're like, "Oh, we'll just be funny and just say each other's first names."
Hilarious.
And
So
no, I
cute.
think he's a really good guy, and I don't think we've ever seen anything where like when Cleveland got his opportunities, he took his opportunities. He was never a guy that would be outspoken. And if that was the case, where at the end of the season, he was like, you know what, I want to be given a chance as the number one. If Sounders were like, no, it's not going to happen, he didn't make a fuss about it. And I think they did
Interesting.
have a good relationship between the two of them, mutual respect, I would say.
I
And
like
so
that.
I don't think that would be an issue for Austin at all.
Well, I was a bit excited. I'm not gonna say I was super excited when we got this guy, but I was like, all right, what is Roller Borel cooking? But now, based off the answers that you gave us, some of the stuff you were saying, the stats we were going over, I have a bit more of enthusiasm, I guess, excitement for this signing. I know that it's gonna be for the better of the team, and I know that as much as we love Stuver, as much as he's been crucial for us and clutch at moments, but there are times where we're wondering like, hey, Stu, where's your head? It's not in the game, and hopefully something like this brings healthy competition because that's really the best for everybody in every position, not
Because
just
I was gonna say
goalkeeper,
this is a
center
win-win-win
back.
situation for Austin. Like this is such a win.
Correct.
Like either you get a fresh new goalkeeper that is younger, that could be better. There's more potential. You have something fresh in the defensive area. You drop down that age
Hmm.
uh, average for your starting 11, or as well you just have like a really good backup goalkeeper that has been a part of the Sounders, that has been a part of a winning organization, and then as well like you guys are just having another depth piece where you guys didn't have before. So it's like there's a lot of good factors in this signing. It's a really low risk, high reward type of situation because you didn't pay
100%.
any money for Cleveland. He was a free.
100%.
So you're not
100%.
gonna lose anything from him.
100%. He was on 200 grand last year, but that goes against the cap budget and yada yada yada. So, but all right, my G Shauyan from Rave Green TV. Thank you so much for your time for being here tonight on the Top Flight Pod. The questions were answered superbly. Appreciate your expertise on the Seattle Sounders. Now, can you please tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can follow your work? I mean, I'm sure maybe some of them might have seen you after the controversial LAFC tweet, but if they haven't, where can they find you?
Yeah, you guys can just find us Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Brave Green TV. That's it. Just look us up,
What
whatever you prefer.
what about next gen?
Non-existent.
No, oh,
Eh,
okay. Right now is just chilling.
yeah,
Okay, all right. Project later for a later date. Right now, follow
yeah.
my G on Rave Green TV on all platforms. But all right, mate. Now, before we let you go, prediction for y'all's home opener. It is against Austin FC.
Wow, dude, this is so early to talk about. Oh no, I don't
Early
know.
prediction.
Oh my,
Early prediction.
dude, it's because you want me to you want me to be in the mud because you want to already ruin my prediction god status from
No,
the get
no,
go.
no, no. I am embracing that you're the prediction prophet. I don't know God, but you're the prediction prophet.
I think Austin has only ever had one win against the Sounders, and that came in that most recent game at home last
We
year.
were all
But
shocked.
Seattle, yeah, we've never actually lost you guys in Austin though, which I think is so crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But in Seattle, we did lose to you guys last time. It just depends on the moves the Sounders make, and it depends on, fuck, dude, I don't know. It
Just give me an
depends also how
early
the
number.
I know,
Give me
but
an
the thing
early
is, it
number.
depends on what happens at LAFC game. If I see a different team than I've seen from years past in LA, I think we'll beat you guys. But if we don't, I think it's a draw. I don't think we'll lose to you guys. I don't think we lose home openers. We don't rarely ever do that.
I actually predicted a draw. So the
Yeah.
fact that you said draw makes me feel really good. I said that we're gonna get 4 points from our first three games. A win at home against Minnesota. We could get a draw on the road at Seattle, and we'll probably lose against St. Louis at home. Those are our first three matches. Minnesota at
Wow.
home, Seattle away, St. Louis at home. I see 4 points there.
I
Bold. I know,
mean,
I know, I know. There's still a lot of things that have to happen, but I'm going with 4 points.
that's crazy. We'll see. I think it's going to be like a 1-0 Sounders win or a 1-1 game. I don't think we'll lose that one. I don't think we lose home openers, honestly. We've
I'll
rarely
take a
ever
draw.
done it.
I'll take a
Yeah.
draw. All right. Well, my G, Shauyan from RaveGreenTV, thank you so much for being here and talking to us about Stefan Cleveland. I know the fans appreciate everything that you let us know here today, and we'll be linking up throughout as the season goes on, some more collabs. So expect us to drop out some more videos. So I'm Hernan. That's my G, Shauyan. Have a good night, everybody, and goodbye from Seattle. Ciao.